and I had to make a part 2 because my camera died. So, but anyway, um, but yeah, Mario Kart Double Dash, really, really freaking awesome game. I really, really love this game. Like I said, there's never been a Mario Kart game that I said, "Oh fuck this one." No, every Mario Kart game has always been like my favorite. I think my least favorite is probably Super Mario Kart on the SNES. I know some people would get mad at me for saying that, but I'm gonna be real. That game is like my least favorite. Like I'll play any Mario Kart game. Like I'll play Mario Kart 64. I'll play Double Dash. I'll play Super Circuit on the Game Boy Advance. I'll play DS. I'll play Wii. I'll play 7. I'll play 8. Just not Super Mario Kart on the SNES. I'm definitely gonna get it for the collection, but I don't care to play it. But this one, oh, dude, spending hours on Double Dash, having two characters at the same time. I mean, what a freaking blast this game was, and still is to this day. Because this game, I mean, fuck, man, I wish there was more Mario Kart games like this, because this game is just so fucking really amazing, man. It just really is really great game, great game, and I think it was a great addition to the series, and I feel like maybe someday we can get something like this again on the Switch. And I want to talk about Japanese games, because I actually, as someone who collects Nintendo, I collect not just North American systems and software. I also collect Japanese consoles and software too. So, for those who've never seen what GameCube boxes look like in Japan, they look like this. They have these like they're these small boxes, these small cases, I should say, and they come with these slip covers. I always think that's pretty cool. And yeah, well, I think I've opened one before in my F-Zero video, so if you've seen that video, then you know. But just in case, I'll just show you what it looks like. So there's the game. I actually prefer this disc over the North American disc. I don't know why. I always like the blue aesthetic of the disc. And then there's the manual, and it's got this little like pink warning. So that's what a Japanese GameCube game looks like. So obviously you already saw the title of the game, and the game is, well, Wind Waker. Wind Waker, when it first came out, I was in kindergarten when this game came out. And it's funny because, you know, I had just finished Ocarina of Time during that time, and I was really excited to see what the next installment of Zelda was. Growing up, I didn't love Majora's Mask, so I didn't care about finishing that game. I was just happy I finished Ocarina of Time, because I feel like Ocarina of Time, during that time, was the quintessential Zelda game of all time, which in my opinion is to this day, but it's not my favorite Zelda. To this day, my favorite Zelda is still Twilight Princess, but, you know, Wind Waker, you know, it's such crazy how this game went from being one of the most polarizing games, because it's not a bad game. It's such an underrated title, in my opinion, because when it came out, you know, like everyone was taking a shit on the graphics, and they were just like, dude, what the hell? Why is this a cartoon? That's not Zelda. But then when some people played it, they're like, oh, it's pretty good. I think the game started to get more appreciation when it was ported to the Wii U, and let me tell you, the Wii U version is obviously way more graphically improved, and that's the one version I tend to go back to the most. But have the Japanese version for collector's purposes, so it's pretty cool to have this. Next game I have, obviously, Pokemon Coliseum. I was going to call this Pokemon Stadium. No, Pokemon Coliseum. Pokemon Coliseum. Really fun game. Definitely this was my first time as a kid experiencing like a Pokemon art. The closest thing to getting like a Pokemon RPG on your TV back then, because back then when we got Pokemon home console games, they were just like spin-offs like Pokemon Stadium. And I love Pokemon Stadium, don't get me wrong, I love that game. But the problem is that I'm pretty sure people like me and other fans of Pokemon out there probably wanted a Pokemon RPG, and this was the closest thing that we got. And also XD Gala Darkness, another great game too. I don't have that yet, but other great game. But this game was just really, really great for its time, and I still think that the game itself still ages pretty good. And I always go back to just hunting down the shinies. It's just a really great game. Obviously, I like the Japanese cover. I mean, the North American cover was also still pretty cool. You obviously got Groudon, Kyogre, you got Entei, Suicune, and Ragiku. And yeah, I think this apparently came with another memory card, but I don't. I do own another memory card for my Japanese games, but I this did not come with it. But yeah, really great game. Love it. I definitely recommend playing it in English. Don't play it in Japanese if you don't know the language. F-Zero GX. I did a video on this. Excellent, excellent game. Unfortunately, this was not the very last F-Zero game. We did get like other last F-Zero games like on the Game Boy Advance and stuff like that. But for us, this was like the last home console F-Zero game that we ever got to play, and it really sucks because I really enjoyed F-Zero. It was such a great game, and it was such a great series, I should say. And to me, like GX was such a masterpiece in and of itself. This is technically the Dark Souls of racing. In my opinion, if you haven't played this, I would just say emulate it, because this game is definitely one you shouldn't pass. I suck at it, unfortunately, but I know it's still fun to play just for nostalgia purposes. And yeah, so let's talk about, before I wrap up the video, I will just only talk about my retrospective on the GameCube. Unfortunately, back then, I didn't own a GameCube. I actually owned a PS2 instead of a GameCube, which sucked for me because when the GameCube was coming out, I was actually excited for the GameCube, and I actually wanted a GameCube so bad. But the problem was I got a PS2 instead, which I look back at that now and I don't regret it, because honestly the PS2 has become one of my favorite non-Nintendo systems of all time. When I think of PlayStation, the one PlayStation console that to me is still the greatest PlayStation system is the PS2, hands down. But the GameCube was a system that I really wanted, and I mean, I was excited to play games like Smash Brothers Melee because, of course, I had the original Smash Brothers on the N64, so I was excited that a sequel was coming out. I was excited, obviously, for Luigi's Mansion. I didn't care for Pikmin when it was coming out, but Luigi's Mansion and Smash Brothers Melee were the two games that were like the two highlights for me. So when I was growing up, yeah, I had my PS2. And I enjoyed my PS2. I had a lot of great games for it, and to this day, it was still awesome to just have. And it is one of the systems I do tend to repurchase again, because I do plan to have non-Nintendo consoles in my collection, like consoles that I own or consoles that I've always wanted, like the Genesis and Dreamcast and stuff. Like, I do plan to get those systems. So I got my PS2, enjoyed the living hell out of it. So, I had a friend of mine, and I remember he had two systems. He had the PS2, and he had the GameCube. The only problem was he didn't play his GameCube that much. He only played his PS2 more because he was more interested in the PS2 more than the GameCube. But he would let me play his GameCube, and he did have a lot of great games. I remember he had Mario Sunshine, he had F-Zero GX. I think he had Dragon Ball Z Budokai 1. He had that for GameCube. I had that for PS2. And he had he had that Donkey Kong Jungle Beat game. He had the bongo drums too. And he also had a Pac-Man game. I can't remember which one it was. But he had Wind Waker, and he also had did I say Luigi's Mansion? I'm pretty sure I did. But yeah, he did have Luigi's Mansion. He did have that game. He had Pikmin. I didn't play Pikmin though, because I didn't care for that game back then. He had I think he had Animal Crossing, because I think that was his sister's, but I never played it either. He had the Sonic Adventure games, Director's Cut, and he had Adventure 2 Battle, great games. He had the Mega Collection. He had Star Fox Assault, another game that I do have. He also had I think he had like SSX and it had Mario characters. I can't remember how many games he had, but I do remember he had a lot of great games, and he had most of the notable first party ones. He even had Kirby Air Ride too. He had that game. He had Mario Party 4, Mario Party 6. He also had he had a lot. He had most of the good first party stuff. But I remember I would play his GameCube a lot because he would let me play the GameCube because I didn't have one. And I remember I'd say, man, I wish I had the GameCube, man, because that's a system I wish I would have. And he'd be like, yeah, man, you can play it. I mean, I hardly play my GameCube. You can play it because I play my PS2 more. So he would let me play his GameCube more, and I would always just enjoy and just have fun with the GameCube. And um I didn't start getting into collecting GameCube games um until I got my Wii. But unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of games. I only had like 3 games for the GameCube. Unfortunately. Those games I had Smash Brothers Melee. I had I had Pokemon Coliseum and I had Mario Sunshine. I only had those 3 games. I was poor back then, so I didn't really have any other options. But but I feel like for me, I didn't start to appreciate the GameCube more until I started getting into emulating Dolphin because I feel like once I started emulating Dolphin, there was a lot of games that I've played in the past. There was also games I've never played before on the GameCube, and I just started to say, man, the GameCube was definitely ahead of its time. It was definitely something to look forward and to appreciate for what it was. And I think at that time, it was just Nintendo at its best, really was, because once the GameCube was finished, obviously they moved to the Wii, and the Wii became what it is. And it just to me was the last time that I feel like Nintendo really tried their damn best to cater to both the casual and a hardcore audience. I really think that Nintendo, don't get me wrong, I mean like Nintendo is still like when it comes to first party stuff, Nintendo never disappoints. But when I think about Nintendo systems, I only think about their first party titles. I don't really think about playing third party games on Nintendo consoles. But I feel like the GameCube was that system that really did their best to like cater to like just just a whole audience of gaming. And that's where I really feel like they tried their damn best to really get people to say, no, this is not for kids. This is for everybody. And it was just this was a gamer's console. And it just sucks that it didn't do well because we just there's just most of us was just more interested in the PS2 and the Xbox. And I feel like nowadays I'm really appreciating that it's getting a cult following and people are starting to get back into it and starting to play games on it because it is really a great system. Now the question is, do you need a Nintendo GameCube in 2021? I would say yes, but here's why I would tell you say yes. I'm not going to focus on the games because I want to not focus on that. The one thing I feel like you should get a GameCube for, and if you're just only wanting a GameCube for this reason, I totally understand. The main reason to get a GameCube in 2021 is for the Game Boy player. Because the Game Boy player, like I said, is one of the best add-ons ever made for any console. The fact that you can play Game Boy games on your TV, and I think the best way to play them is to use component cables because they look really good. Yeah, I know the component cables for the GameCube are hell of expensive, which sucks, but there is a way to do that. Like you can use the GCHD. I know that's a little expensive too, but it is more. I guess it's not as expensive as the component cables, but you can use that, and the Game Boy games will look really, really great, man. I'm just excited to get my Game Boy player, and then once I do that, I'm also get the GCHD so I can play my GameCube games and Game Boy games on my HD TV. I'm really excited for that, definitely. And so, another thing I forgot to talk about in my retrospective. So, I got my GameCube. It's been 2 years since I got my GameCube. I think it was the second console I acquired because the first console the first console I acquired, I think this. It's been so long, but I think this was probably the second console I acquired because I don't remember what was. I think the first one I acquired was Super Nintendo. Yeah, Super Nintendo was the first one. Super Nintendo was the first one. Because when I started getting into like collecting all of Nintendo's consoles, the first system I acquired was Super Nintendo, and then I got the GameCube. And it felt so unreal that a console that I wanted as a kid is now in the palm of my hands, and it's right here. It's so awesome because I mean this was a system I would have wished I had as a kid, and now I own it, and it just feels really awesome to own this system. So again, like I said, do you need a GameCube in 2021? I would say, well, if you really want to get into collecting GameCube games, there's many ways to play GameCube games. You can definitely play it on a GameCube, or of course, if you still have an original Wii that is compatible with GameCube games, you can just definitely use your Wii, and you can just use the component cables on the Wii that are pretty cheap. You can just play GameCube games like that. Another thing too, if you do get component cables for your GameCube, which I do plan to do that later. Yes. So, one thing you should do, and even on your Wii, if you have component cables on either your GameCube or your Wii, if this one of your games says progressive scan compatible, and if it says like, hey, we detected that your GameCube has component cables, do you want us to allow progressive scan? Say yes. Trust me, your games will look 10 times better with progressive scan because they look great with progressive scan when you have the component cables. So yeah. So honestly, I think getting a GameCube. Well, I think there's many places where you can find GameCubes. I think the best place to get them is flea markets because they're really cheap, and I think at times, man, you can just find GameCubes that are in pretty damn decent condition and they still work pretty good. I just say flea markets because online, dude, trust me, people like price these things for like $200 to $300, and it's not something I recommend, but like I think flea markets are the best options to get retro systems because you can get them for pretty cheap, and sometimes you'll just find them for decent. I mean, when you go to flea market, you can still find systems working really great. So I never trip about their condition. I always say, as long as they work and as long as the games play, that's all that matters. But yeah, I would say if you want to play GameCube games, like I said, many ways to play it. GameCube, or of course your Wii, or emulating. But yeah, so that's kind of the GameCube in a nutshell. And yeah, man, it's just interesting revisiting this console. And I mean, I'm still playing this console to this very day. I think my favorite game on the console, if I gotta be real, my favorite game on the GameCube to this very day, and I mean, it's not a brainer because I'm pretty sure it's everyone's favorite game on the GameCube, or maybe you may have your different opinion, of course. My favorite game on the GameCube to this day is Smash Brothers Melee. When I think of the GameCube, this is the first game I think of, and I just pop this game in and I just have a blast. And it's just great revisiting this game. Obviously, I already have all the characters, and I think I only need to unlock one stage, and that's Poke Floats. I don't know why I said Poke. I said Poke Floats, yeah. So, yeah. But Smash Brothers Melee is my favorite GameCube game of all time. I think my close second is Metroid Prime. But, yeah, that's kind of the GameCube in a nutshell. Sorry if I'm burping. You can probably hear it in the background, but it's whatever. But hey, I just want to say I know the GameCube turned 20 last year, but it'll turn 21 in November. So give me a second. Since the GameCube's turning 21, we gotta fucking drink. We gotta drink. Give me a second to open this. Got it. There you go. So, cheers to 21 years to the GameCube because, hey, you can finally drink, buddy. So, well, I mean, not yet, but this year you do turn 21, so you're old enough to drink. So happy 21 to the GameCube, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace. Uh, uh, yeah, just I got no other words. I'm pretty terrible at coming up with outros, but anyway, but thank you guys for watching this episode of Nintendo Retrospective, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.